I don't know what time it is. I think it's like 9:30ish. I got up officially, I think, around 8. Now, mind you, I've been up periodically through the night, but I have 2 teenage girls in the hotel room with me, so they were sleeping, and so I just tried to go back to sleep myself, because why not? Plus, I know that I have a 3+ hour drive home today, so I wanted to make sure that I was rested, because I have to be 100%, because the teenage girls are no help with directions. Yesterday, so I'm trying to see how to start this. Okay, so this event was the Boys of Summer Tour, and this event is for social media influencers that are pretty popular and famous with the teenage crowd these days. Let's just put it that way. I kind of relate it to when I was younger and the New Kids on the Block, because that's all I can really relate it to. So there was a group of, quite a few of them. Most of them were boys. And some of them just put out TikTok videos. Like, if anybody knows what TikTok is, it was the old Musical.ly. So basically you go on and you do dances and imitations to music or sounds or stuff that's already there. You're not necessarily a singer. I mean, you could be a dancer, but if you put out a good video, then people watch you. It's kind of like the YouTube thing, you know what I mean? Like, if you put out good videos, people will watch you. So that's what this is, and these guys were geared towards teens. And I joke because I kind of contributed it to the parents' end of things as pure torture. Because, you know, that's not something, like, as a parent, you're, like, really into, you know? I mean, you can appreciate good talent, but the whole ooh-ah screaming teenage girls after the cute, good-looking boys thing is not quite so thrilling and pleasant for a parent to watch. But I want to take a step back, because I will admit that that wasn't the most pleasant experience for me as a person. But I didn't go to that event for me. I didn't. I didn't buy those tickets so that I could go. I bought those tickets so that these girls could go. And so that Lacey could have something that she's been wanting for years, quite frankly. Like, she's been wanting to do, like, Playlist Live, and she's been wanting to do these Boys of Summer tours, and she's been wanting to go to these concerts with all these influencers. And, you know, and I struggle because I'm like, you know, is this really the best thing for my child to be getting herself into and be watching and be obsessing over and all of that? And you don't really know, because you don't follow it, because you don't understand it, because you don't understand what they're even saying half the time, because the words are words that we don't use. But I went to this event, and I sat up on the little podium with the rest of the parents, because, you know, that's just what we did. You know, they had a bar for the parents, you know, they had a section for us, and, you know, you could get food and you could sit there, and then all the kids could get in their lines and do their meet and greets, and you could literally see everything, because it was that small of a venue. Like, your kids were either down in front of you or they were up around you. Like, so you knew where your kids were at all times. So it was a very safe, very organized event. So props to them for that. Okay, and now, mind you, I'm speaking to you from a parent point of view. So this video isn't meant for the teenage kids that are like, ooh, I love Boys of Summer. This is for the parents that have teenage kids that struggle with whether or not to take their kids to these events or to pay the money for these tickets. So yeah, it was very loud. There were hundreds of girls screaming over these boys. But So props to the organizers, props to the people that put it all together, that did all of that, because that's a lot of work and that's a lot of kids to organize. And I didn't see one flaw in the system. I might have seen, it went over on the time limit, but there was no flaws. Like, it went smoothly, everything went pretty much to par. They kept the kids moving, they kept the kids organized. There was no mass chaos, nothing. It was very well organized. So there's that. Then, I went upstairs with Lacey and Jade, and when they did their small talk session with their choice of influencer, which was Luca. Not really sure. Like I said, I think Luca was up there, and there was a Ben and maybe a Jeremy. Like I said, I don't know these kids. They're kids. They're teenagers. They're 16, 17. They're teenagers. I think some of the talent there was over 18, but mostly it was all young talent. And to see my child's face when she got to hug this kid, this boy, was, for a parent, was one of the best things I've ever experienced since having a child. To see the pure joy and happiness on her face, to see her stumble over her words and just be like, oh my God, was pure joy. During the small talk session, they got to talk to each other. There was only a group of maybe 5 girls in it, and then it was like 3 or 4 boys. So it was almost like boy to girl ratio. So they really got to have one-on-one time with these boys and talk to them and get to know them. And they did TikToks with them, and they took pictures with them, and as you'll see, they're in the vlog. And they even shook my hand, and so props for all that, but props to these boys, because these boys treated each one of those girls like they were both individual, like they were all individual beautiful girls, and each one was special. They didn't single themselves out with any one person. They spent equal amount of time with all of them. They treated them all, Lacey and Jade came back saying how each one of these boys called them beautiful, and called them their best friend, and then they friended them on Snapchat and Instagram, or followed them, or I don't know what the terms are, sorry. So props to these boys, because these boys treated these girls like each and every one of them was special. Then, once I got past that part, I kind of separated and let the girls do their own thing with the signing and the meet and greets and all of that. And they got their individual pictures with each one of the people, and then the concert started. And, some of these influencers were very talented people and could sing. But each one of these influencers made a point to let these girls know how special they were. I think I got some of it on film. If I can make sure I can pinpoint, I have a lot of footage. So if I can make sure I can pinpoint those moments where, one of the girls was like, now I want you all to, say you're beautiful. Like, she made them all say how beautiful they were. Then she made them turn to each other and tell each other how beautiful they were. And I just smiled, and then there was, the boys were the same, you all are special, you all are beautiful, you all are wonderful, build each other up. It was, when a parent is struggling with whether or not they should allow their teenage daughters to get involved in something like this, and you're like, oh my gosh, this could be detrimental to their, no, it's not at all. That was one of the best experiences of my life, to watch all these influencers build these girls up. Not tear them down, not single them out, not create drama. They were still kids. The one was telling the other he had a small wiener. They were kids. They acted like teenage kids. They were kids. That's what kids do. but at the same time, they built each other up and they told each other how wonderful they were. Not each other as far as just the influencers, not just them as individual influencers, but all those girls. And as a parent sitting back and watching that, that was wonderful. Then there was a point on the stage where all the boys were up there and one of the girls was in a chair. I think it was a backstage girl, and she had to be blindfolded, and all of these boys had to go and say what they would do as far as taking them on a date, or if they were in a relationship. The parents actually got to ask the questions. What would you do, you know, for your girlfriend in this scenario, that scenario, this scenario? And to watch these teenage boys say, you know, moonlit walks on the beach and red rose petals and all the romantic things, and how they would, you know, have their girlfriend pick the dates and do, you know what I mean? Like, that was amazing, because that showed these girls that there are decent boys out there, that there are decent people out there that will provide them with the type of treatment that they deserve. But minus all of that props to the kids and props to the people running the event, I want to say props to the parents of these influencers, because that means that these parents are doing something right, that they're raising boys to treat women respectfully, to treat other people respectfully, to be appreciative, and, you know, and even when I passed, you know, excuse me ma'am, and manners, and, you know what I mean? And there's so many people, so many famous people out there that just don't care, that just would just push people aside and think they're not, you know, their poop don't stink, and that, you know, they don't have to bow down. But all of these guys acted like they were part of the crowd. You know, they got down there, they mingled with all of the girls, you know, all the girls got a chance to meet them and hug them and get their autographs. And so, you know, whereas it wasn't the most pleasant experience for me as in something that I would enjoy. Now, I will admit that I did enjoy some of the talent, like the music and stuff. Like, these kids were seriously talented. Like, I give them that. And I did enjoy some of the music and stuff. But it was loud, and the kids were screaming, and it gave me a headache and all of that. But to watch these kids build each other up was amazing for me. And it was the best thing that my 14-year-old daughter could have ever gone to. Best thing in the world. And I would buy tickets and take her to another one in a heartbeat. It was well worth it to see the pure joy on her face. It was worth it to see her open up and act like herself and be herself, and realize that it didn't matter what she looked like. It didn't matter, you know, how her hair was. You know, she was beautiful. It didn't matter. And that meant more to me than anything else in the world. So, as a parent, if you have a teenage daughter or even a teenage son, and they are begging to go to an event like this, I highly recommend, you know, get them to save their money up to help pay for it. But at the same time, take them. Because this is the stuff that we need our kids to be involved in. You know, they were answering questions like, in a world that's so crazy, how do you stay positive? You know, and one of the influencers was like, be the change you want to see. Like, teaching these kids to be the future that they want to have. And it's like, that's what I've been trying to teach my child for years. And I've been so worried that she's getting caught up in social media and getting caught up in this and getting caught up in that. And, you know, it's going to tear her down, and she's going to, you know, crash, and it's going to be the wrong thing. And all this time, it's been good. So I hope she continues to follow these people and watch these people. And I hope they continue to be these people that I want my daughter to watch. But so, yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat. But now, I need a grown-up trip. Bye.